I'm a Samsung power user. I live on my Z Fold 7, but I'm officially breaking up with the Galaxy Watch 8. For weeks, I've been wearing the Pixel Watch 4 and the Galaxy Watch 8, and the overall experience of the Samsung Watch really pushed me to find other options. One just feels more fluid, more futuristic, more seamless, and the other just feels like a clunky old computer program struggling to load on my wrist. Maybe that was a little harsh, but let's get right into it and talk about the overall design. Let's point out the obvious here. The Pixel Watch 4 is a circular Apple Watch. It has a premium look and feel, it's minimalistic, it's seamless. And one of the reasons I was struggling to switch to Android in the first place was because I never thought anything would compare to the Apple Watch. But Google flat out copied them, and I'm not blaming them for it. Good idea. The Galaxy Watch, on the other hand, has a weird design. It's like a circle inside of a squircle. It's also too square looking and bulky on the sides for me. And it's okay, I've been wearing it for several months now. It's just not really for me. Now, of course, in comparing the two, people do suggest that the Pixel Watch is a little less durable because it uses Gorilla Glass instead of sapphire, and just the shape of it is likely prone to more accidents. I'm the king of smashing my watch into doorknobs, but we'll see. So far, it hasn't had a scratch. While we're on the overall design, let's talk about bands. If you go on the Samsung website to buy a Galaxy Watch 8, you can actually choose which band you get. And I don't mean the color. You can choose all different styles of Samsung bands. Like, I didn't want silicone, so I chose this fabric one with Velcro. The Pixel Watch forces you to buy a silicone band. You can't pick and choose which band you get, and that sucks. Because if that's not the band you want, you have to spend another $50, $60, or however much on a new band. And I'm not a big fan of that. Now, both Samsung and Google did copy Apple and come up with their own proprietary system where the bands just pop in. The Pixel has a little bit of a learning curve in the way the bands slip in there, but if you are somebody who changes bands pretty often, then you'll get used to it. Both Samsung and Google do have a pretty good selection of bands on their website. There do appear to be better bands available for the Samsung than there are for the Pixel on Amazon, assuming you want inexpensive third-party bands. But this isn't a huge sticking point, so let's move on to one of the biggest reasons I'm making the switch. And that's the UX UI. For those who don't know, that's user experience and user interface, and that's huge for me. The Pixel Watch 4 to me seems like the closest thing to an Apple Watch. Everything is fluid and seamless, there's beautiful animations, it seems very futuristic. The Galaxy Watch 8 just seems like an improvement from past Galaxy Watches. Like I said, it feels like a computer program was loaded onto this thing and is expected to work, which it does most of the times, but it's a little clunky. The Pixel Watch is very easy to interact with swipes and gestures and voice typing, as where the Samsung often doesn't register my swipes. It's harder to press buttons, a lot of times it's hard to find the voice typing when I'm responding to a text, and the buttons are so small that when I'm entering my passcode I often have mispresses, and that never happens on the Pixel Watch. And then there's the passcode bug, which drives me crazy. I've looked this up online and there's plenty of people on Reddit experiencing the same thing, but in the morning I enter my passcode, and I can even interact with the watch a little bit, clear some notifications, and without fail, every time it locks the watch again, and I have to put my passcode in a second time. Every single day, I have to enter my passcode twice in the morning. And it's really not cool when you're expecting your watch to be on and activated and unlocked, and you look and you're not getting certain functionality because it's still locked. So UX UI is huge for me, and it's one of the biggest reasons I'm dropping the Galaxy Watch. Now let's move on to the other biggest reason I'm switching, which is Gemini. They both have Gemini, but with the Pixel, it's embedded into the entire ecosystem front and center. It seems quicker, more snappy, it interacts with my Google Home better, and on the Samsung Watch, there's certain things you cannot do with Gemini, like ask it to start a workout. I could say, hey Google, start a biking workout, or hey Google, start a weightlifting workout. You can't do that on Gemini, you have to go to Bixby. And no offense Bixby, but I don't ever want to talk to you, ever. It almost never understands what I'm saying. And yeah, I'm an all-in Google Home user, and it just seems like the Pixel Watch is more aware of when I'm talking to my Nest Hub Max rather than talking to the watch. The Galaxy Watch is much more likely to respond when I'm not addressing it directly. Now, I was just talking about workouts, so let's talk about health and fitness. You got Samsung Health, and you have Fitbit. Now both of these ecosystems are great, and I think there's slight positives and negatives with both. I could care less whether I'm using Samsung Health or Fitbit or Apple. It doesn't matter to me. But if you do want advanced features, Samsung gives all of it to you for free, and Fitbit actually charges you $10 a month for a premium subscription. Again, this isn't something I'm gonna pay for anyway. In the entire health ecosystem, I typically just use the watches to track my workouts, and that's it. I don't even ever go back and look at my workouts again after I've done them. It's just like, oh, I burned 500 calories, great. Now then there's the overall workout experience, and yeah, for me it's pretty simple. I want to be able to say, hey Google, start a biking workout. I don't want to have to talk to Bixby. The other thing is, let's say I'm biking and I stop to take a drink of water, the Galaxy Watch will actually pause the workout, as where the Pixel Watch will just keep going. And you know what? I don't know which one I like better. And when I'm done with my biking workout, the Pixel Watch shows me a nice summary which I can scroll through, but the Galaxy Watch is actually a little nicer looking with pictures, it has a little heart rate graph, it has a map that shows the entire route I took. Pretty cool. Now again, I don't really care that much about these things, but the Samsung is a little nicer in the post-workout summary. And then there's some nitpicky annoyances, like when I'm working out with weights, a lot of times my workout gloves will actually press against the side button and pause my workout. That's a big deal because I'm losing the entire workout pretty much. But that's a little bit nitpicky. So overall, if you want the absolute most features when it comes to health and fitness, the Samsung Watch actually does have an edge. It's just for me, I don't use most of those features. I just do basic workout tracking and that's about it. Maybe steps. I did mention earlier that I use a Samsung Galaxy phone, and that's the reason that I initially went with the Samsung Watch. And yes, they're both Android, they both have Wear OS, but unfortunately, there's certain features where you need to use the same brand of phone as the watch. There's things like Do Not Disturb. If I activate it on the phone, it will not activate it on the watch. They're two separate entities. Same thing with alarms. I have an alarm that goes off daily when I have to pick up my kids from school. When the alarm goes off on my Samsung phone, it also goes off on the watch where I could easily dismiss it. When I'm wearing the Pixel Watch, it does not go off on the watch, only on the phone. The other thing is the camera controller. When you use the same brand phone and watch, you can position the camera to take a group shot and then take pictures from the watch. Now you can't do this natively with either phone, but there's third-party apps for this. So there are minor issues using different brands of phone and watch, and since it's Android, there's either going to be a third-party app or some other type of workaround that you can do to get around these things. And I do use the remote camera shutter on these phones and watches occasionally, but none of these little things are going to keep me from switching. Now let's talk about battery life, which I don't really think is a problem for either of them. Now I'm the type of person who charges my watch every night when I go to sleep. I know there's people who expect the watch to have 2 or 3 days of battery life, and there are people that sleep with their watch, so I understand the need for the battery life in that respect too, although you have to charge it sometime, right? And I will do that on occasion, but not only does the Pixel Watch have slightly better battery life, it's also so much more comfortable to sleep with. I barely feel this on my wrist in comparison. Just something to mention. But for me, as long as the watch lasts my longest and busiest day and still has charge when I go to pop it on the charger at the end of the night, I'm satisfied. In testing both of these watches, they both have excellent battery life, at least for me. If I take it off the charger in the morning and wear it all day, I don't think I've ever seen either of them go below 60%. I'm not even sure I've seen the Pixel go below 70%. And I don't nitpick on specs, I like real world use, and it seems like the Pixel does have a better battery, but they're both great and this is not one of the reasons I'm switching. And then there's charging. Right out of the box, Samsung still gives you that little disc you pop on the back. I can't stand that. And of course there are third-party options, but let's just focus on what comes in the box. The Pixel, on the other hand, gives you this really cool side clip dock. So it's just a little tiny dock that sits there and you pop your watch on. You don't have to flip it over or risk it coming off. It's really perfect. I was looking for all sorts of third-party chargers and stands until I received the watch, and then I was like, oh, this thing's great, I don't even need to do that. And of course, the Pixel charger is significantly faster than the Galaxy charger. And that's pretty much it. For me, it all comes down to a few simple things. I just think the look and the feel of the Pixel is on another level. It's comfortable, it's minimalistic, and it looks amazing on the wrist. The UX UI is so much better. The way you interact with the watch, swiping, texting, animations, the way Gemini works with the watch is so beautiful and seamless. The Pixel Watch 4, plain and simple, is the Apple Watch that I've been looking for Android. And that's why I switched. Have any questions? Agree? Disagree? Feel free to let me know in the comments. If you like this video and want to see more like this, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. And thanks so much for watching.